Online at consumerqb.com.
All right, welcome back. Brandon Ryan's Consumer Quarterback Show. Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. Also, Livian Coastal Elite is our new brand under Keller Williams as well. Really excited about that. A lot of growth happening around the Consumer Quarterback Show and our team expanding into Sarasota, Bradenton, and other markets. So really excited about that. Now, we always like to feature our real estate listings. Before we have Mark Haye. Mark Haye's in studio here. We're going to jump with him here in just a minute. Before we do, we always like to feature our real estate properties. We help our sellers profit more and sell faster utilizing our innovations with radio, TV, and internet marketing. We got a hot commercial listing here at 4404 Orient Road in Tampa. This is a beautiful opportunity for a business owner, developer, investor. Over 6,000 square feet. Got a well-built office building right on Orient Road, just down the road from the casino. 4404 Orient Road in Tampa. Recently updated. Ample parking, great investment opportunity, and check out that listing and more at platinummvpteam.kw.com.
This is God's country.
All right, we got Mark Haye in the house, 21st Century Financial Group. Welcome back, sir.
Hey, how you doing? Quite a Super Bowl.
Yeah, right.
You know, I didn't have a dog in the fight, but I wanted a good game, and we got it.
Yeah, it was a good game. And, there's some of the wokeness going on around it. I was not very impressed with, a lot of that. Like, the halftime show. I mean, come on. They got all these people in white hazmat suits covering their face. Like, it's almost like they're constantly doing this psyops game, right? The psychological operations where they're trying to normalize all this masking and all of this uniformity. So these people wearing these hazmat suits, I believe it's like conditioning the public in a way.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about it, but that's a good point. And then the national anthem. I just think the national anthem is the national anthem. I don't care if you're yellow, red, black, brown, white. That's our national anthem. Yeah. To roll out a different national anthem for a different race, to me, that's dividing America. And here we are in the Super Bowl. We're all coming together. We get to look forward to this once a year, and then we have that division. It drives me nuts.
It's funny you mentioned. We got right into this conversation. I want to play this clip. This is Steve Bannon on his podcast, War Room.
Well, the entire culture is woke, driven by the woke corporations, right? Of Larry Fink and BlackRock. And with all the ESG and Disney, all of it, you see the Super Bowl yesterday, a disgrace. It's not worthy of my time to go into it, but that shows you what corporate America is going to do. And it's not the players. I said this on Friday early. It's not the players. It's not even the NFL. The NFL is just a bunch of bureaucrats. It's the owners. It's the owners. This is the problem we got. We have these unaccountable billionaires, right, who are totally woke because they all want to be accepted in the Hamptons. They want to be accepted in Hollywood. They want to go to the, on Scottsdale. They want to all go wine and dine and hang out together and not be called out for standing up for something. So they're just going to go with the flow. Remember, money has no courage. It doesn't. Money has no courage.
Go with the flow, no courage. So that's essentially it makes a lot of sense, right? These upper class elites, they just want to be fitting in when they go to Hollywood or maybe be invited to the party so they can hang out with, I don't know, Weinstein or whoever these people are, right?
Yeah, and it makes you think too. Is sometimes the things that they say is like, are they just being paid to say things?
Right.
Do they really believe it? Or are they just saying it because they're getting paid X amount of dollars? Right. And here we are. I'm going to say this. I think of The Rock. I liked Rock and just been a fan of him. But I remember when the election came across and he was on his Facebook page live or something, and he was promoting Joe Biden and his policies, and and to me it kind of took me a little bit off because I was thinking, man, I just can't believe that he's saying all this. But then to me, I'm thinking, how much did he get paid to say this?
Could be.
It doesn't mean he's going to pull the lever for Biden,
right?
But is he getting paid? So we don't know that either, because we've seen over the years now how much corruption is happening. Right. And the funneling of money going here and there. So we don't know. Maybe they just say they get paid, but they don't really believe it either.
Yeah. Well, I think it's the group think, and it's that whole, how you have this big group and all of a sudden, they kind of feel obligated, forced into. I mean, if you're in Hollywood, you're going to be in that side of the ring most of the time, right?
Yeah, you're going to want to keep your job and keep getting films and jobs. Exactly. So I mean, you're gonna say what you got to say to stay in it, like you said.
Well, one thing he did mention though was ESG and BlackRock, and that relates to you, Mark. I want to talk about, the investment side. What is ESG? What about BlackRock? And how does that relate to the average listener? That was our short segment. We're going to come back. We got a longer segment coming up with Mark Haye, 21st Century Financial Group right here. And support the local economy by supporting folks that are on the Consumer Quarterback Show and within our family here. We greatly appreciate that. So follow us online at Brandon Rhymes 1 on Instagram, Twitter, Getter, hotline 813-917-1894, consumerqb.com. We'll be right back. More with Mark Haye.
Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Call Brandon today at 813-917-1894.
All right, welcome back. Brandon Rhymes here, Consumer Quarterback Show, in studio with Mark Haye, 21st Century Financial Group, financial advising expert, contributor on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Now, we always like to feature our real estate listings, and we got some hot opportunities here in Tampa Bay. This property is 2156 Masters Court in Dunedin. This is a beautiful condo in a golf community close to the beach, close to Honeymoon Island. 2156 Masters Court in Dunedin, Florida. 20 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 3 bath, and it is a great floor plan, and you are right across the parking lot to the pool. You got a community pool right there at your private condo at 2156 Masters Court, Dunedin, Florida. One of our hot listings here in Tampa Bay. We also have 2817 Gulf City Road in Ruskin, one of my favorite listings. This is 23 acres, and you can build townhouses, apartments, maybe even single-family homes right on the Little Manatee River. Prime waterfront development opportunity on the Little Manatee River. $1.7 million. Great opportunity. 23 acres. Motivated seller. Gulf City Road in Ruskin. You can see all of our listings at platinummvpteam.kw.com.
Buy dirt, find one you can't live without.
Yeah, you can buy some dirt there as well. And this segment's brought to you by Discovery Golf Cars, longtime friends of the Consumer Quarterback Show. They got multiple locations here in Tampa Bay. Discovery Golf Cars. They've got the Easy Go, the Star EV Cushman, multiple golf cars available. Check them out online, discoverygolfcars.com. Now, Mark, I sign up for Gus Bilirakis. He gets his emails out to us, and it was just interesting. I was reading this today. The Congressman Gus Bilirakis' office sent this out. It says, since Biden took office in 21, they've increased our 10-year spending trajectory by $10 trillion. Includes ramming through $2 trillion of the so-called American Rescue Plan. That's not really rescuing many people that I know. Ignited by the highest spike. It ignited this highest spike in prices in 40 years, including billions lost to fraud due to Democrats' rejection of Republican safeguards. The billions in inflationary waste and abuse. Here are some of the egregious examples of this spending. Did you know we're spending $783 million worth of checks to federal prisoners? Why would we send $783 million of checks to federal prisoners? Here's another one. $1,400 stimulus checks sent to potentially as many as 70,000 Japanese citizens living in Japan. And on and on and on. Why would we spend that money? I don't understand it, Mark.
It's just unfortunate, too, because anything that has the government, there's no checks and balances. And I think we talked about a couple of weeks ago with the Pentagon just losing $2.1 trillion. There's another thing like you just talked about. Okay, for these checks are going to these foreigners in different countries, and these checks are going to prisoners. Now we lost $2.1 trillion. There's no checks and balances.
Right.
If somebody had a business and lost millions of dollars, much like the crypto guy.
Right.
They're put them in jail. Everybody's getting sued. Tom Brady, you're getting sued. If you promoted it, if you talked about it, everybody's getting. There's consequences.
Exactly.
But you go to the government level, and they can just do what they want. And we just sit back and say, okay, and the $2.1 trillion is gone, and this check. And meanwhile, our taxes keep going up.
Yep.
And it's going to keep going up just because of the spending. Just like that, we're going to spend $10 trillion more. And that's just what in the state of Florida. You said
that was this was through the American Rescue Plan.
Yeah. So we're going to spend $10 trillion just on that.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention you take Social Security, and we're spending. I looked at the budget last year, 2022. We spent 23% of our budget on Social Security, 14% on Medicare, and then 12% on Medicaid. That's 49% on 3 programs. Half of our entire budget goes to those 3 programs. And then we're going to go, okay, let's do $10 trillion more over here, and let's spend. It's so ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And then the only thing that's going to have to happen is taxes have to go up.
Yeah.
Otherwise, how do you pay for it? Because the government's not cutting.
Right.
You know, not cutting positions and funding, and certainly we need to start doing it. Like you just mentioned, $783 million don't go into prisoners. I also saw something about tens of $millions going to snakes in some Uganda country to limit the snakes. It's like, what?
It's like, to me, it just seems like some kind of an overseas kickback. Like there's going to be somebody on the Democratic payroll who's getting that money. He's going to turn around and invest in the Biden.
And it's not just Democrats; it's Republicans too. They're all in bed.
It's a uniparty.
You know, so
Absolutely.
it just needs to. You know, I mean, we talked about it as well. If you can just go to term limits, you could probably eliminate a lot of these problems.
Right.
You know, get them out of here, get fresh blood in. There's not time to be in there and percolate for 40 years and start getting paid by all these different people like Pelosi's and them. So.
Yeah.
You know, go with term limits, might hack this stuff, you know, in half.
Yeah. Well, here's one that really got me kind of frustrated about the Catholics. You know, the radical traditional Catholic Mass is what it says. Listen
Tell
to
us
this.
more about this document. Why would the FBI specifically target this group of religious people?
Hey, John. Yeah, so the memo dated January 23rd is from the FBI's Richmond office. It was reportedly reviewed and approved for release by the office's top lawyer. It basically warns agents that these so-called radical traditional Catholics who prefer the Latin Mass could be associated with racially and ethnically motivated violent extremism. It also ties these supposed radicals to a, quote, adherence to anti-Semitic, anti-immigrant, anti-LGBTQ, and white supremacist ideology.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Where do they get that from? You know,
I mean, I'm not Catholic, but I'm a Christian. But I've been to Catholic churches and been with Catholic people, and I've never seen anything close to what they just gave as example of this is what's happening.
Yeah,
you know, but it gets so tiring to hear the same thing. Well, that group's racist, and this group, you know, it's and I don't get it other than just divide, attack, and we the people
create chaos.
Yeah, need to just step up and say that's enough. You know, unite and let's fix this.
Yeah,
you know, which needs to be done. And one thing, like we just talked about, term limits and putting the right people in place, and certainly that would help. Mm-hmm. But we need to rise as people and come together and stop letting them divide us.
Yeah, and
it's all we're doing. We're just being divided, and people start hating the other. We don't even know why we hate each other. And you tell people, you know, you hear people talk about Donald Trump, and we'll just talk about him because he's all over news all the time, and you hate Donald Trump, What do you hate about him?
Right.
I don't know. You know, there's so much to say. I don't know. Well, just give me two reasons.
Give me something. Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
And it's the same thing. The media is telling you to hate this group or not like this group and divide these people, and people believe it, live it, and then unfortunately we see repercussions of that.
Well, even with the balloon, you know, the whole balloon thing, the spy balloons, they're all of a sudden saying, oh, well, these were there during the previous administration, but they didn't catch it and we did.
Right. Well, I even heard with these trains that this third train that wrecked in Houston, unfortunately, and these chemicals, and I heard something on the news this morning or something about how it's Donald Trump's fault because he did something with the braking system in trains, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I'm just... Why is it always
they're pointing the finger?
It's like holy moly!
Yeah.
Can we just figure out what's happening? Like, why are we having 3 different train wrecks across the country, spilling all these chemicals? In Ohio, we don't really have any answers other than it could be worse than Chernobyl, which is freaking crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever seen or read or watched anything on the Chernobyl. Like, I hope it's not like that. Yeah. You know, but I don't know who's ahead of this transportation department. But
that's Pete Buttigieg.
Yeah, let's get him out here. And let's see what the heck's going on, and where's the answers?
Well, the problem is they're too worried about the woke cultural stuff, like, you know, environmental racism and those types of like oxymorons. Really, how's the environmentally racist? You know, it's the stuff today is just ridiculous. But like you said before, you know, when we run our businesses, if something's out of line or somebody makes a bad decision on spending or you know. It's cut pretty soon, right? Like exactly. You find it, you stop the bleeding, and you move on. You red light, green light your expenses when the economy shifts and the things change. But these guys, they just have this loose, you know, not only morals and values, but they're financially, the fiscally. So let me ask you that then, Mark. So I'm talking with Mark Haye, 21st Century Financial. What can we do about it as citizens? What should we be doing to safeguard our retirement and to safeguard this hard-earned income that we work for?
Yeah, it's a good question. You know, it's you got to take ownership of your own life and your family, and certainly working with an advisor like myself. And people get the notion that it's expensive to work with an advisor. It's not. It's not expensive. You're not going to have to go out there and put out money to work with an advisor like myself or my team. And most advisors are not expensive or even charge fees, take commissions, whatever. But the point is, take hold and ownership of that. Don't rely on the government, because everybody has a plan. Either it's a government plan or it's going to be your plan.
Right.
And I promise you guys, you don't want to be on the government's plan.
Right.
Whether it comes to going to nursing home, Medicaid homes, relying on the government to pay your Social Security or pension, you should have your own plan.
Yep.
And it does not take a whole lot to do that. Sit down with me for 30 minutes, and I promise you're not going to waste any time. It's not going to cost you any money to do that, and figure out where you're at, where you want to be.
So a free consultation, reach out to the hotline, 813-917-1894. You can do it over the phone. You can do it over Zoom, in person. Mark Haye, 21st Century Financial Group. You definitely want to get that done. You want to get a review also. If you have currently a policy in place, could be a retirement plan, an insurance type plan. Mark, you will review that for folks?
Absolutely. We review policies, investments, IRAs, retirement plans, estate plans, whatever you have going on. Certainly we'll take a look at it and give you our opinion or advice, or here's what we would do moving forward based on these laws or these changes. But things are changing all the time.
Right.
And if you're not meeting with your advisor at least once a year, it's time to find a new advisor or get a second opinion. Because there's so much happening that you just need to be in front of that advisor at least once a year.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, a lot moving around, and these are mistakes that if you continue to pile them on year after year, quarter after quarter, month after month, a lot of these investments are exponentially the way that they're going to exponentially compound, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And just like the changing of the required minimum distribution, something simple as that is, okay, now we're going to push the age out to 73, and it's going to be 75 in a couple of years. That's a huge deal.
Right.
So people can now work a little longer, or maybe not spend that asset and wait a couple more years. That makes a big difference instead of just forcing you to spend it. The market's going down, so that's a big deal. Just something so simple. And now you can plan, okay, wait a second, we get 2-3 more years of letting this thing percolate. Let's do this. Let's get it out and do something different with it now that we have those couple of years, just to let that sit, or change the investment plan or her time horizon. So just something so small like that makes such a big difference and a big impact, not only on your family, but generations to come as well.
Right.
If you do the planning correctly,
that's right.
You can take advantage of all these things they're giving you, the taxes and their RMDs and et cetera.
Yeah. It's a combination of knowing the plan, working the plan, and then seeing where you're at in the economy. I'm talking to people right now about that are saying, I'm just going to wait till March, April, May, June, to put the house back on the market. I said, well, there were 500 price reductions. I'm just using a round number, but it's about that. 500 price reductions this last month in the entire Mid-Florida Regional MLS. That's the multiple listing. And then this same time last year, guess how many there were? There were only 60. So 500 price reductions now, 60 a year ago. What does that tell you is going to happen to pendings, right? So once the prices come down, then they go pending, then they actually close, then it gets reported, and then the mainstream media says, prices are down. So you're going to wait for those 2 or 3 months to go by. Now you're going to be in a much worse market, and you're going to flood the market with your home when a lot of other sellers are thinking the same thing. Hey, let's get it on the market before prices continue to fall. So it's very similar to your business, Mark. You got to get ahead of these things and have a plan in place.
Yeah, you got to know when to buy and when to sell. You want to sell at the peak, obviously, and you want to buy at the bottom. Well, if you're thinking about selling real estate, now's the time to sell it. I just don't see how it's going to be getting better right now moving forward. Now, we are insulated in Florida. We have a great governor. I think that, we have things on our side.
That's right.
But with interest rates going up and people actually losing jobs, and here in Florida, we are feeling it. You got homeowner insurance doubling, tripling on people.
Yep.
You got flood insurance doubling, tripling on people. Now I just saw that they're passed a law that you have to get a mandatory second flood policy on these homes, which is insane, which I don't know if it's actually going to go into effect, but that would be just an additional cost, let alone the inflation that we're seeing, et cetera.
Yeah.
So people are seeing the increase here in Florida just on living basis,
right?
Just because of the home insurance and flood, et cetera. So if you're really thinking about selling, now is the time to sell, cash out, and do something with it. And certainly we could help you with the monies that you get if you want to do that for some kind of retirement plan or investment. But I would take what you said. Look at the data. It's going down.
That's it.
People are cutting prices. Sell and get out if you need to do it.
Yeah, you can predict where it's going to go. Mark Haye, 21st Century Financial Group. How do you want folks to find you?
Yeah, best way to do it, just call, text 727-804-7220 or respond immediately to you.
Awesome. All right, Mark. Thanks a lot. Appreciate those insights, man.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Appreciate that. And we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with Shane Socash. He's the owner of David Reynolds Jewelry and Coin on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Feel-good story of the day. Also, we got a chef that's serving up meals to the homeless. Find out about this gentleman that was a Navy chef, and now he's cooking meals for the homeless. Feel-good story of the day coming up here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
Hey, I'm Ken Shamrock, and you're here with Consumer Quarterback Show. And I say, Brandon Rhymes, knock out your competition.